Kakadosh Boker Tov Shavua Tov Masechet Sukkah Daf Memvav Amud Aleph 46a1. We were talking about on the top of the page where it says Meitvei. We're going to ask the following question against the Shita of Rabbi Yohanan. Okay, so the question is as follows. The Gemara says, "Haoseh lulav leatzmo." If a person is going to tie together the lulav for himself, okay, Omer, what is he going to say? This is talking about obviously before Yom Tov, where he's tying it together. What is he going to say? Baruch atah Hashem nitalo. If he's going to pick it up in order to be Yotzei Chova, right? Latzet bo. What is he going to say? Baruch atah Hashem al netilat lulav. Now, even though you already made the bracha on the first day, yeah, what are you going to do? You're going to make a bracha every single day of the days of Yom Tov. You're going to be, meaning all the days of Sukkot, you're going to be making this bracha. Okay? Now, the Braita is going to go to Sukkah. That was to do with Lulav. Now we're going to Sukkah. The Gemara says to do with Sukkah. Haoseh Sukkah leatzmo. If a person is going to do a Sukkah to himself, he's going to say, Baruch atah Hashem shechianu v'kimanu v'kiyanu lezeman hazeh. He's going to say, shechianu v'kimanu v'kiyanu lezeman hazeh. Nichnas l'sheva. If he goes inside to sit down in the Sukkah, okay, he's going to say, so now since he already made the bracha l'sheva sukkah b'yom nishon on the first day, shuvenu mevarech, you're not going to make a bracha, right? So now the Gemara is going to finish off with now the question. So kashya lulav lulav, the kashya sukkah sukkah. We have a contradiction to do lulav and lulav and to do it sukkah and sukkah. Why? The Braita says you have to make al netilat lulav all 7 days. And l'sheva sukkah only on the first day. And according to Shitat Rabbi Yohanan, it was the exact opposite. The lulav was only going to be on the first day, and sukkah was going to be all 7 days. So what's going on? This is mamash a contradiction to what Rabbi Yohanan said. So answers the Gemara, bishlema lulav lulav. To do with the contradiction of lulav and lulav, right? It's not going to be a contradiction. La kashia, it's not a question. Why? He says, kam bizman shebet hamikdash kayam. It all depends whether there's a Bet HaMikdash or not a Bet HaMikdash, which means, right, here we're talking about, right, with the mitzvah lulav is going to be noheg in the mikdash all 7 days, mina Torah. So therefore, since there was a Bet HaMikdash, the lulav was all 7 days, mina Torah. So therefore, they made the bracha all the 7 days, right? No, the shechianu is only the first day. The first time you make a shechianu, you never make a shechianu after that. Always, anytime. It doesn't matter the mikdash or not the mikdash. You always do it all the time, right? It's always the first time only, the first mitzvah, right? Unless it's fake at the Yoma. For example, the first 2 days of Yom Tov, we don't know which one's the first day, so then we're going to do both days. But usually, you always do it the first time you're doing a mitzvah. No, for sure not. The shechianu is always on something new, okay? So he comes and he says, yeah, v'kan bizman she'en bet hamikdash kiyam. Here we're talking about that there's no bet hamikdash. So if there's no bet hamikdash, then what happens? Yeah. He says if there's no Bet HaMikdash, what happens? So he says, right, what happens is if there's no Bet HaMikdash, so then it's not going to be every single day. So you only make a bracha on the lulav afterwards. Ela sukkah kasha, but you still have a contradiction, sukkah. Okay? You still have the contradiction between the sukkah and the sukkah. So answers the Gemara, Tanaihi, it's a machloket Tanaim. Why is it a machloket Tanaim? He says the Tanya was learned to the Braita. The Braita teaches tefillin. Every single time you put on the tefillin during the day, you make a bracha. These are the words of Rabbi. Okay? Chachamim say, you only do it in the morning. Meaning the only time that you make the bracha, once you make the bracha. Okay, that's it. Okay, you don't make a bracha more than that. So you see from here that there's a machloket to do with when do you make the bracha or not. Itmar, it was stated. Yeah, Abaye says, Hilcheta kerebi. The lacha is like Rebi. That we make the bracha every single time we put on tefillin, you make a new bracha. The Rava says, Hilcheta kerabanan. The lacha is like kerabanan. You only do it once a day. Amar Amari, he says, Amari berad Rabat Shmuel, the son of Bat Shmuel, Chazina le Rava delavi kishmate. Right? It says over here, what happened was that it says that they didn't want to say his father. There's a whole reason for that in the footnote. So it says, Chazina le Rava. I saw that Rava himself did not do like what he just said. Rava said alachazak rabbanan that he only does it one a day. That means, for example, if I'm going to take all my tefillin, right, and then afterwards I'm going to come, I'm going to eat, and I'm going to put them on again. I want to learn again with tefillin. I would not make a bracha according to Rava. Why? Rava said you only make the bracha once a day. So says the Ramadi, amen. It says Ramadi, the Rebbe that Shmuel, I saw Rava, he didn't even do like his own psak. He went to the washroom, he did his necessities, he went, he washed his hands, he put on tefillin, he made the bracha. And when again he needed to go to the washroom, again he used to do he went into the betikse, Nafik, he came out, Masechet, washed his hands, again, and he put on the tefillin again, and he made the bracha again. So if he's saying, I don't understand this. Rava comes and he said to him, but I saw Rava with my own eyes, and he didn't do like that. He made a bracha every single time he put on the tefillin. So says the Gemara, Ve'anan nami kerebi avdinan. We also do like Rebbe, which is what? Which says over here, Mvarechinan kol shiva, that we make a bracha on the sukkah all the 7 days. Which means that's exactly what we do. We make the bracha on all 7 days of sukkah, correct? That's what we do. Make the bracha like that. Fine. Amar Morzutra. So Morzutra comes and that's the halacha sukkah. Yeah, that's what we do. We do a bracha on all 7 days of Sukkot. We make the bracha on the sukkah. Amar Morzutra says, Chazil l'Rav I saw Rav Papi, that every single time he put on the tefillin, mevarech, he used to make the bracha. Okay, so every single time, even a few times during the day, he used to make a bracha. Rabbanan de Rav Ashi, and the Talmidim of the Academy of Rav Ashi, kol eimat de mesham shebehu, every single time that they used to come and they used to be mashmesh patfilin, mevarche. Means every single time they used to do like something like this, they used to make a bracha. Okay, every single time. So Amar Rav Yehuda Mer Shmuel, says Rav Yehuda Mer Shmuel, mitzvat lulav kol shiva. We know that the mitzvat lulav is an obligation for all 7 days. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Omer, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi says, Yom HaRishon is mitzvat lulav, only the first day. Mikam ve'elach, from then onwards, mitzvat zekenim, which only comes from the rabbis, from the zekenim, from the elders. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar, Rabbi Yitzchak says, Kol Yom mitzvat zekenim. He says, no, every single day of the Chag is considered mitzvat zekenim. So it comes out that Rabbi Yitzchak is actually going to be a third shita, that even on the first day of Chag, it's only the Rabbanan. So 3 shitot. What? The Rabbanan, from the elders. Right? So it's basically 3 shitot. First day Doraita, rest of it is going to be the Rabbanan. He's going to say that the other one is that all 7 days was going to be Doraita. And the third one is going to be that only that all of them are going to be the Rabbanan. So you have 3 extremes. Okay? So says the Gemara, Afilu biyom rishon, are you going to tell me that even the first day it's going to be the Rabbanan? How does that make sense? Hakaimelan, we paskin, the Yom Rishon is Doraita. So says the Gemara, no, you're right. Ima bar mi Yom Rishon. It's except for the first day, meaning the first day is Doraita, all the rest is the Rabbanan. So now what are you going to ask? If you're going to tell me that the first one is Doraita, all the rest is the Rabbanan, so that was the exact same like the other Shita then. The other Shita also said the exact same thing. So what do you say? So Rabbi Yitzchak is like Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi then. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said, Bayom HaRishon is mitzvat lulav. From then onwards, it's the Rabbanan. Comes Rabbi Yitzchak, it's always the Rabbanan. Says, is it always the Rabbanan? No, you're right. Always the Rabbanan except for the first day. So it's the same shita. It's the exact same thing. Salam Imsho. So answers the Gemara, you're right. You have to say V'chen Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. And so too says Rabbi Yitzchak. Means Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, first day the right, all the rest of the time is the Rabbanan. V'chen Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. And so too said Rabbi Yitzchak. Okay? Rav Savar Kol Shiva Mitzat Lulav. Also, Rav held that all the 7 days we're going to make a bracha on lulav, and that's what we do nowadays as well. The Amar Rav Chia Barashi Rav, it says Rav Chia Barashi name of Rav, Hamalik Ner Shel Chanukah Tzarich Levarech. You have to make the bracha on Ner Shel Chanukah. Now, Ner Shel Chanukah, do right or Rabbanan? Rabbanan, obviously. How do you know it's the Rabbanan? It didn't exist in the Torah. It only happened at the end of the second temple, right? 200 years before the second destruction, the second Beit HaMikdash. So therefore. No, there's Balot Chatan and all, but it's hints, this, that, Rambans. That's only the Torah. So therefore, and if it's in the Beit HaMikdash, it's something else, but not the Ar Chanukah, right? So therefore, what are we trying to say? What we're trying to say though is that you see from here that you're supposed to make a bracha on the Rabbanan. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Ro'ena shel Chanukah, even if you see the Ner Chanukah, you make a bracha. And not only if you light it, even if you see it, you're going to make a bracha. What are you going to make a bracha? Amar Rav Yehuda, Bayom HaRishon, and the first day, Hamadlik, if you are lighting it, you're going to make 3 brachot, right? Lalik ner shel Chanukah, or ner Chanukah, she'asa nisim shechianu. Haro'eh, the one that sees the Chanukiah, he's only going to make 2 brachot, she'asa nisim and shechianu. Mikam va'elach, after the first day, Hamalik, the one that's lighting the Chanukiah, is going to make 2 brachot, lalik ner Chanukah, and, right, she'asa nisim, right? And the ro'eh, right, is going to make 1 bracha, she'asa nisim. Umay mevarech. So says the Gemara, what's the nusach of the bracha? Baruch Hashem Lalik Ner Shel Chanukah. you're going to make the bracha lalik ner shel Chanukah. Here, if you realize the shel is in brackets, there's a whole question: do you have the girsa? Don't you have the girsa? There's girsa to Moroccan minhag, this minhag, that minhag, al pi Kabbalah. It goes back and forth. So says the Gemara, v'hechem etzivanu. Where were we commanded in the Torah that we're saying Asher kiddushanu mitzvah v'tzivanu? We were commanded. Where were we commanded on Chanukah? So says the Gemara, milot asur. You're not allowed to abandon, to derail from the path of the rabbis. Right? That's the Torah. Mina Torah means you have to do exactly that which is written, which the rabbis come and they tell you. But Nachman ben Yitzchak comes and he says, no, there's another pasuk. Ask your elders and they're going to tell you. The fact it tells you, you have to ask your elders. The elders are going to teach us the path. So says the Gemara, okay, we skip out the brackets. My head says, man, I'm going to find that. So Nes Kol Yoma. Right? So now we're going to skip the brackets, and now it says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak matil behedya. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak actually taught him in Furash, where it says Amar Rav, it says in the name of Rav, Kol Shiva mitzvah lulav. All the 7 days is going to be the mitzvah of lulav. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Says Sukkah letzmo. A person is going to make a sukkah for himself on the first day of Sukkot. Omer, he's going to say Shechian v'kiman v'ganon lazman hazeh. Nichnas hasheba, when he goes inside, then he's going to say Asher kasham mitzvah l'sheba sukkah. Hayta suya v'omer. When it's already done. So im yachol lechadesh badavar, if you could do something new, to change something new, so then you're going to make the mevarech, you're going to make the shechianu v'im lav, and if not, l'shikanes l'sheva, when you go inside of it, that's when you're going to make two berachot, l'sheva sukkah and shechianu. Ravashi says, Chazina le Rav Kahana, I saw Rav Kahana, he said, no, we do everything on the cost of kiddush. That's what we do today. Today we do everything because we don't say shechianu when you're making the sukkah, right? When you're in the cost of kiddush, you're saying kiddush, in the middle of kiddush, you do both. You say l'sheva sukkah and you say shechianu. Now we learned in the Braita. Yeah? What happens if a person has a whole bunch of mitzvot to do? Omer is going to say, ala mitzvot. You don't say one mitzvah, ala mitzvot. So he says, Rabbi Yehuda says, no. You make a bracha on every single mitzvah. You don't do a bundle. There's no 2 for 1s. There's no bogus here. One, each one separately you make a bracha. Amar Rabbi Zera says, Rabbi Zera Timan Rabbi Chanina Papa and says Rabbi Papa Hilchata. What is halacha? Like Rabbi Yehuda, you have to make a bracha on every single one separately. Amar Rabbi Zera says, Rabbi Zera Timan Rabbi Chanina Papa. My time, Rabbi what's the reason of Yehuda? Tichtiv, it says Baruch Adonai Yom Yom Yamos Lanu Yeshotenu Sela. We just said in Valetzion. What does that mean? Baruch Hashem Yom Yom, right? It says a pasuk in Tehillim. By Rak Bayom Varchin Oto. We only make a bracha to Hashem in the daytime and not during the nighttime. So said no. But rather comes tell you bechol yom bayom ten lo me'em birchotav. Every single day you have to give him like his berachot, which means on Shabbat you speak about Shabbat, Yom Tov you speak about Yom Tov, Chol you speak about Chol, and that's why Mekadesh Shabbat we say on Shabbat, Mekadesh Yisrael Zemanim is on Yom Tov, Mekadesh Yisrael Chodashim on Rosh Chodesh, right? And regular weekday. Hachanami sotuya bechol davar davar on every single individual aspect. Ten lo me'em birchotav, give him like his berachot. Rabbi Zera says, Rabbi Zera, Papa, you see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like a human being. Midah b'savadam, a human being, if he has an empty utensil, 46b, machzik, an empty utensil can hold things. Maleh, if it's already full, eno machzik, it can't hold anything. Midah HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the exact opposite. If it's maleh, meaning a person is maleh vegadush with Torah, machzik, so then it could withhold things. Rekan, if it's empty, right? You know, phones are empty. There's nothing there. So what happens? There's nothing that it will hold. There's nothing that it can get. Why? Rek. Borek. There's nothing there. Shneimar, vaya im shamua tishma. Im shamua tishma. If you heard, so then you could hear more. V'im lav, if not, no tishma. You're not going to hear it. Tavar acher, another explanation. Im shamua biyashan. If you're going to hear old news, old things, tishma, so then you could learn new things. And if you're going to be choser on that which you already learned, tishma, you're going to learn new things as well. But if you're going to, I already learned it. I don't want to do chazara anymore. Shuv lo tishma, so you're not going to learn anything new. Okay, fine. 2 dots. The 2 dots said that they're going to grab it from the hands of the tinokot. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, right? Etrog b'shvi'i asur. Etrog on the 7th day of Sukkot, you're not allowed to eat it yet. But shmini on the 8th day, which is Shmini Atzeret, you're allowed to eat it. Sukkah, even on the 8th day, it's going to be a asur bana. Okay, you're not allowed to use anything of the means. I can't use it as firewood or whatever it is. The Shakish says etrog afilu b'shvi'i mutar. According to the Shakish, even on the 7th day, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to eat the etrog. So what's the machloket? What's the machloket between them? The question is, it was already muktzeh for the mitzvah. And he was designated for the mitzvah. Umor savar. So that's according to the Resh Lakish. So since according to the Resh Lakish, you were already Yotzei Chova on the 7th day, and you already did the mitzvah, so now you're allowed to eat it. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, savar lekuli yom, he says no. It was muktzeh for the mitzvah, but for the entire day. Meaning, even though you did the mitzvah in the morning, in the 7th morning on Hoshana Rabbah, you're still not allowed to touch it on the entire day. So Eitvei Resh Lakish Rabbi Yochanan. So Resh Lakish asked against Rabbi Yochanan. Miyad tinokot, they used to grab away from the children the lulavim. Ve'ochlim etrogim, and they used to eat the etrogs. My lavodin, are we not talking about also they used to take it from the gdolim and also eat from the older people, also the etrogim? Says Gemara, no. Tinokot davka. Why the tinokot? Because it wasn't a mitzvah. It was only for chinuch. Since it was only for chinuch, there's no problem. Ika de amri, there are those that say, Eitvei Rabbi Yochanan le Resh Lakish, asked Rabbi Yochanan to Resh Lakish. Miyad tinokot shomtin luluvehem. They used to come and take it from, right, the children, the lulavs and everything. Ve'ochlim, they used to eat the etrogs. Tinokot in gdolim lo. Are you going to tell me davka tinokot? Yes, gdolim no. Says the Gemara, even the gdolim. Because according to the Shakish, you could even do that for a gadol. So why do we teach the tinokot? Or chadamin, but that's minhag. Usually you'll take it from a child. You'll play around with a child. You take it. You're not going to start to imagine grab away from the doctor. Chashuva, grab shoma. A little child. You start playing around. So you grab the throat. You take a bite. You enjoy. You continue going. That you'll do. Yeah. So he says, Amalei Rav Papa Abaye. He says, Rav Papa Abaye to Abaye, the Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, Maishna Sukkah, Maishna Etrog. What's the difference between a Sukkah and Etrog, according to Rabbi Yochanan? Why is it that the Etrog only on the 8th day and the Sukkah is still going to be Asur? They're both on the same thing. Both the Sukkah and the Lulav and Etrog are 7 days. So why is it that according to Rabbi Yochanan, on the 8th day you could take the Etrog, but you can't take the Sukkah? You can't use the Sukkah for anything else. Why? So Amalei, he comes and he says, Sukkah, right? The Sukkah, the Chazia, Ben Hashmashot, the Sukkah is fitting during Ben Hashmashot, right, during twilight. If you have a Suda, by mitzvah, you have to eat inside the Sukkah, and you have to eat it inside. That's why we eat in the Sukkah on Shmini Atzeret, right, because we have a doubt. So therefore, since it's Ikatzai Ben Hashmashot, once it became Muktzeh during Ben Hashmashot, right, obviously it was in Naretz they never do Sveka Diyom. So therefore, since it's Muktzeh for Ben Hashmashot, it's Muktzeh for the entire day. The Shmini, right? Etrog, but that's why, right? It's going to be on the 8th day also prohibited. However, though the etrog, you never do the etrog during Ben Hashmashot. Once it's after Shekiah, Kaddish, you can't do the etrog anymore. So therefore, he says, since the etrog is not chazi during Ben Hashmashot, that's why it wasn't like katzai Ben Hashmashot, the Shmini, and therefore that's why the etrog you could eat on the 8th day, but the sukkah you can't, because if you're going to come and bring in a meal and you want it to eat during twilight, meaning in between Mincha and Arvit, you want to eat. So if you want to eat in between Mincha and Arvit, now what are you going to do? You have to go to the sukkah and eat in the sukkah. It's still Ben Hashmashot of maybe it's still daytime. So because of that, it becomes muktzeh. Once it becomes muktzeh during that Ben Hashmashot, the entire rest of the day becomes muktzeh. So the 8th day it's going to become muktzeh. But the lulav and etrog, it doesn't happen. Levi Amar, and Levi says, etrog afilu b'shmini asur. Even on the 8th day, the etrog is also going to be asur. Why? Shmuel Amar, and the father of Shmuel says, etrog b'shvi asur. Etrog on the 7th day is going to be prohibited. On the 8th day is going to be permitted. Kam avua the Shmuel b'shittat de Levi. Got up avua the father of Shmuel in the shita of Levi. Kam Rabbi Zera b'shittat de Shmuel. Kam Rabbi Zera got up and in the shita of the father of Shmuel. Rabbi Zera says Rabbi Zera etrog shenifsela, an etrog that became pasul asul leochla kol shiva. You're not allowed to eat it all 7 days, all the 7 days. But on the 8th day, you are going to be permitted to eat it. So Amar Rabbi Zera says Rabbi Zera lo likne inshe hoshana li nuka b'yom atava kama. Don't be makne to a child. Right? He says, don't be makne to a child, right? A Hoshana as a present on the first Yom Tov of Sukkot before you're going to be Tzei Chovah. Means don't give it to a child. Why? Maitama, tienuka mikna kane. A child can acquire. Aknuye lo makne, but he cannot acquire it back to you. V'yishtakach, so it comes out, the kanafik v'lulav sheno shalom, which means like this. I have lulav and etrog. I'm going to give it to my son before being a Tzei Chovah. If I'm going to give it to my son before being a Tzei Chovah, what happens? I gave it to him, he acquires it, he's being Tzei. He doesn't know how to give it back to me. If he doesn't know how to give it back to me so I could acquire it, I lost out. Exactly. No, but that's what you don't do. You first do your Tzei and then you give it to him. Right? You first, but you have to be a Tzei. You are your Tzei first and then you give it to him. Right? No. The T'nai is matana menat lachzil. That's something completely different. That's even to do with any gadol. That's something completely different. No, but the matana menat lachzil lo tzarich. Ani יכול לתת לך במתנה גמורה. And then you can give it back to me as a matana gemura. There's no problem. Matana menat lachzil is a shma matana. It's the name of a matana, which means that even if I give it to you on condition that I want it back, it's still considered a present and it's yours. But by a child, it has nothing to do with it. I do not know how to give it to a child, meaning that I could give it to a child. I know how to give it to a child, but he doesn't know how to give it back to me. Since he doesn't know how to give it back to me, it's going to be a problem. The Amar Bizera says, never come and tell a child that you're going to give him a present and you're not going to give it to him. Because then you're going to teach him to lie. This is very, very important. Sometimes you come and you say, you know what? I'm going to come and give you this. And then they don't give it. Suddenly, this actually once happened very recently. And this is actually the machloke between Rav Yochanan and Resh Lakish. The Itmar was stated, Shiva etrogim. Imagine right now you separated 7 etrogim from the mitzvah. L'shiva yamim, for the 7 days of the Chag. Rav says, every single one of the etrogim you're going to be tzedek chovah. You're going to be able to eat it immediately. That means you're tzedek chovah, you could eat the etrog. Why? Because tomorrow you have another etrog. Ravasi says, no. You could only be tzedek chovah the next day. Meaning, even though every single day you have your own etrog, you could only be tzedek chovah the next day. Meaning not tzedek chovah. You could only eat it the next day after being tzedek chovah. What's a machlok? It might come more savar lemitzvatak, because one says it was only for the mitzvah. That's shakish. And once you're tzedek chovah the mitzvah, tochalota, eat it, do whatever you want. You already were tzedek chovah the mitzvah. More savar lechuli yomei katzai, was for the entire day. So once the entire day, you can't eat it until the next day. Okay? The lacha anyway is like Rabbi Yochanan v'siyato, that an etrog is going to be asur on the 7th day and permitted on the 8th day. However, though Rabbi Yochanan was only talking about that it's Yisrael, that you have only 1 day of Yom Tov for Shmini Atzeret. What about now Chutz La'aretz? Okay? V'anan ditlan treyoma, but for us in Babylonia that we have 2 days, Heichi Avdani, what are we going to do? Amar Abaye says, Shemini Safek Shvi Asur. If it's going to be the 8th day, Safek Shvi is going to be Asur. Tishiyi Safek Shmini is going to be Mutar. Meneima Amar says, Afilu b'Shmini Safek Shvi Mutar. Even if it's going to be the 8th day, Safek the 7th day. So now Besura Avde Kemreima. Besura, right? In Surah, they were doing like Meneima, which means they were eating their etrog on the 8th day. Surah Syria. Rav Shisha v'Rav Ravidi Avid Kabaye. And Rav Shisha the son of Ravidi did like Kabaye, which means that they didn't eat it until the 9th day. So there's a whole machloke where they eat it on the 8th day, on the 9th day. The hilchata is like Kabaye. That means you're not allowed to eat it until the 9th day. So in Chutz La'aretz, you can't even eat it until Simchat Torah. You can't eat it on Shmini Atzeret until 9th day.
I don't think anybody's rushing.
Okay, fine. Okay. The etrog. Amar Rav Yehuda bered Rav Shmuel bar Shilat. Says Rav Yehuda and the son of Rav Shmuel bar Shilat, Mishmed Rav in the name of Rav, Shmini Safek Shvi L'Sukkah. He says, Yom HaShmini, which is Safek Shvi, right, is like the Shvi'i to do with the Sukkah, and Shmini to do with the Beracha, which means to do with the Beracha, right, which we're going to say, we're going to Shmini Chag Atzeret Hazeh. That's what we're saying. We're saying Shmini Chag Atzeret Hazeh. Rabbi Yochanan comes and he says, Shemini lezeh v'lezeh. Shemini Atzeret is going to be for both, whether it's talking about the Yeshiva B'Sukkah or the Beracha of Yom Tov. Okay, so Meitav, so to do with the sitting of the Sukkah, Kule Alma Lo Plig, everyone says you have to sit. That means for us, we do have to sit during Shemini Atzeret in the Sukkah. Ki Plige, one is a machloket, Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, Leveruche, only to do the Beracha. So to do the Beracha is a machloket, but not to do it sitting. It means we sit in the Sukkah during Shemini Atzeret. The only machlok is, do we make the bracha or no? Okay, have a wonderful day.